Original post. My new job at the cemetery isn't what I expected. I thought working night security at a cemetery would be boring. Quiet, maybe peaceful. Just me, a flashlight, and a bunch of stones. It pays well. Too well, honestly. 28 star for walking around a place where nothing's supposed to happen? Easy. But they didn't tell me about the rules. On my first night, the groundskeeper, old guy named Henry, handed me a laminated sheet. Follow these, you'll be fine. He wouldn't explain, just shoved it in my pocket and walked off. The rules were short. 1. Do not answer if someone calls your name. 2. If you see fresh flowers at grave 237, remove them immediately. 3. The angel statue near the north gate is supposed to be looking left. If it's looking right, leave the grounds. 4. If you hear digging after midnight, don't investigate. Walk away and hum. 5. Never let the lanterns go out. I laughed it off, thought it was hazing. But by 1 a.m., I wasn't laughing anymore. At exactly 12:47, I heard someone whisper my name. Clear as day, coming from the dark. My flashlight beam caught nothing but rows of stone. Then I noticed grave 237, a bouquet of lilies, fresh, dripping water. I'd walked that path 20 minutes earlier. There hadn't been anything. When I bent to pick them up, I heard it again. My name, right behind me. I didn't turn, didn't breathe, just walked back to the office, humming the only song I could think of. Take on me. The flowers were gone by morning. Update 1, the angel. Second night, I almost quit. I made my rounds, lanterns burning, gravel crunching underfoot. The whole place silent, until I reached the north gate. The angel statue was wrong. Its head was turned, looking right. I froze. Remembered the rule. If it's looking right, leave the grounds. But leave how? The gate was locked. My shift wasn't over. Behind me, something shuffled. Slow, heavy. I didn't dare turn around. I backed away, step by step, until I reached the office. Slammed the door, locked it, waited for sunrise. When Henry showed up, I told him. His face went pale. Good you didn't look behind you, he said. That's when it follows. Update 2, the journal. I couldn't stop thinking about it. Why would a cemetery need rules like this? I started searching the old office cabinets. Found a water-stained leather journal stuffed behind files. Entries going back decades. The first page. This place was built wrong. The ground was never empty. We didn't bury here first. We covered. The rules keep them in. Other entries. 237 won't stay quiet. Keep plucking the flowers. The angel points where they tried to climb out. Lanterns are borrowed fire. They hate light they didn't make. Last entry was dated 1997. If the digging gets louder, don't hum. Run. That night, around 2 a.m., I heard it. Shovel scraping dirt. From the south side, near the older graves. I hummed anyway. The sound stopped. But in the dirt the next morning, I saw handprints. Dozens. Too wide, too many fingers. Update 3. Henry confesses. I confronted Henry. He sighed like he'd been carrying this forever. They're not ghosts. Not the way people think. The ground's thin here. Always has been. The graves keep it anchored. Names on stones matter. Dates matter. Numbers matter. Without them... He trailed off. Without them what? I asked. They start making their own. That's why we stop the flowers. Names written fresh give them a way out. I asked about the angel. It doesn't keep watch for us. It watches them. If it turns, that means something's moving under there, trying to rise. I asked what happens if the lanterns go out. Henry just said, don't ever let them. Update 4, the lanterns went out. Tonight, wind tore through the cemetery. One by one, the lanterns blew dark. By the time I lit 2, 3 more had died. It was like something was moving with the gusts, snuffing them out. Then came the digging, not one shovel, dozens, all around me. I sprinted from lantern to lantern, hands shaking, lighter burning my fingers. But no matter how many I lit, more went dark. And then the angel. It was gone. Not turned, not broken, gone. In its place, fresh dirt, piled like something had just crawled out. I ran, didn't stop until I was out the gate, lungs on fire. From outside the fence, I looked back. The lanterns all flickered back on. Perfect, calm. And in the center of the path stood the angel, facing me. Update 5, the whisperers. I thought it was over when I left the grounds. I was wrong. Last night, in my apartment, I woke at 3:17 a.m. The sound of digging came from my kitchen floor. I grabbed my phone flashlight. The linoleum was intact, but dirt was dusted across the tiles, fresh and damp. Then came the whispering, my name, from inside the walls. I left and didn't come back until morning. When I checked my mailbox, there was no mail, just a Polaroid. It showed me, asleep in my bed. In the corner of the frame, blurred but unmistakable, was the angel. Update 6, the contract. Henry finally broke down. You're stuck, he said. 3 nights is all it takes. The ground knows you now. You're part of the math. He told me about the caretaker's contract. Not written, not signed, just enforced. Every few years, someone new gets hired. Paid well, told the rules. If they follow them, they keep the balance. If not, well, that's why there are so many missing person flyers tacked to the church board. Why me? I asked. Henry shrugged. It chooses, always does. Update 7, the hollow graves. I couldn't stay away, had to see. Went back with bolt cutters and hit the padlocks on the oldest section. The graves there looked wrong. Stones leaned forward like they were trying to read me. I pried one open. Inside wasn't a coffin, just a hollow pit lined with mirrors, each one fogged, each one showing a different version of me, standing in the cemetery, holding a lantern. Behind me, in every reflection, something tall and faceless leaned close. I dropped the lantern, the glass shattered, every mirror blinked. Update 8, final. They don't stay buried. I tried to quit, called Henry, told him I was done. He just said, too late, you worked 3 nights, that's enough. It knows your name now. That night, I barricaded my apartment door. But around 3 a.m., I heard it. The sound of dirt being shoveled from inside my living room. I turned on every light, hummed until my throat was raw. Then silence. When I finally dared to look, there was a single Polaroid on my kitchen table. It showed me, standing in the cemetery, holding a lantern. Behind me, the angel's hand rested on my shoulder, and scrawled across the bottom, in dirt-colored ink, Caretaker, 2nd story. Original post. I took a job at a highway rest stop. We're told never to look at the mirrors after midnight. I needed money, and the night shift at a rural highway rest stop didn't sound hard. 20 LTHR to stock vending machines, clean the bathrooms, and log vehicle plates every hour. Easy. But on my first night, the manager slid a laminated sheet across the counter. Rules. 1. Between 12 a.m. and 3 a.m., cover every mirror in the building with the provided black cloth. 2. If anyone knocks on the locked restroom door, do not open it. We don't have customers after midnight. 3. The vending machines sometimes jam. If one dispenses more than you paid for, throw the extra item away immediately. Don't eat it. Don't keep it. 4. At 2:13 a.m., you will hear footsteps on the roof. Do not go outside. Do not look up. 5. The logbook in the office is already written. Copy down what it says. Do not correct it. I laughed nervously and asked if it was a joke. The manager just looked at me and said, You'll see. That night, around 12:30, I was taping black cloth over the bathroom mirror when I caught movement behind me. A man in a faded trucker cap was standing in the stall. I knew no one had come in. I turned around. Nothing. The stall was empty. But in the mirror, the man hadn't moved. He was smiling. Update 1. The knock. 2nd night. At 1:07 a.m., while I was sweeping the lobby, I heard it. Knock, knock, knock. From the men's restroom. I froze. No cars outside. Doors locked. Help, a voice said. Muffled, strained. I'm stuck. I knew the rule. Don't open it. The knocking got harder, more desperate. Then it stopped. When I checked in the morning, there were deep scratches on the inside of the bathroom door, like someone had been trying to claw their way out. But the janitor swore he'd cleaned it an hour before my shift. Update 2. The vending machine. At 1:30 a.m., a guy in a hoodie came in, bought a Coke. Machine spat out 2. He took one, left the other. Rules said not to keep extras, so I grabbed it and tossed it. When I came back 10 minutes later, the same guy was at the machine again. Same hoodie, same posture. But his face looked off, like it was still deciding what features to have. The machine spat out 2 more Cokes. He took one, left one. I didn't wait around, just threw it away and walked fast back to the office. When I checked the logbook later, the entry for that hour already said 1:37 a.m. Vending machine duplication event. Subject present. Disposal complete. I hadn't written it yet. Update 3. The footsteps. At exactly 2:13 a.m., I heard them. Footsteps, heavy, slow, crossing the roof above me. I sat frozen in the office, staring at the door, gripping the logbook like a Bible. Then came the scratching, nails dragging across the ceiling. Dust sifted down. I almost bolted outside. Then I remembered Rule 4. Don't look up. I forced myself to stay. When I checked the roof in daylight, there were prints in the dust. Not boot prints, not animal tracks. Hands, dozens of them, crawling back and forth. Update 4. The logbook. I thought maybe the logbook was some prank, that Henry, day manager, was just screwing with me. But last night, I flipped ahead. A page dated 2 nights from now. It read, 2:58 a.m. Employee encountered reflection speaking independently. Interaction fatal. Fatal! I slammed it shut, shoved it back in the drawer. At 12:05, while covering the mirror, I saw my reflection blink late and smile when I didn't. Update 5. Henry explains. I finally cornered Henry, asked him straight, "What the hell is going on here?" He just sighed. "The stop was built wrong," he said. "The state wanted it cheap. They didn't bless the ground, didn't check the surveys. The mirrors don't show you, they show what's waiting. The vending machines, they feed it. The logbook, that's not us writing. That's it keeping score." I asked what it was. Henry looked at me for a long time and said, "You'll meet the attendant soon enough." Update 6. The attendant. At 2:45 last night, the lobby bell dinged. No cars outside, no headlights. But when I looked up, a man stood at the counter. Uniform too crisp, name tag too clean. It read, "Attendant." "Good evening, traveller," he said, voice like a radio between stations. "Do you require assistance?" I tried to speak, couldn't. He smiled too wide. "We appreciate your service. Very soon we will expand." Then he slid something across the counter. A Polaroid. It showed me, sitting in the office, staring at the logbook. Behind me, through the window, dozens of figures pressed their faces to the glass. The photo was time-stamped tomorrow. Update 7. The expansion. I thought I could quit. Thought I could just not show up. At midnight, my phone buzzed with a notification. Shift started. Rest stop unattended. When I ignored it, headlights flooded my street. I looked outside. An entire line of semis idling at the curb. Their drivers sat motionless, staring up at my window. At 12:01, a knock at my apartment door. 3 knocks, patient, rhythmic. When I looked through the peephole, I saw myself, smiling, holding a black cloth. Update 8, final. They're building something new. I came back to the rest stop today. Couldn't stop myself. The building was different, larger. Another wing had appeared, gleaming, modern, with mirrored glass walls. Workers in orange vests moved back and forth. But when I looked close, their faces were wrong, blurred, too polite. Henry was gone. No one had heard of him. The staff all wore new name tags. Attendant. On the door, taped at eye level, was a Polaroid. It showed me behind the counter, smiling, wearing the same uniform. The caption scrawled beneath in neat black ink. "Welcome to Rest Stop 2.0. All mirrors must remain uncovered." I don't work there anymore. But every night at 2:13, I hear footsteps on my roof. And in the bathroom mirror, I'm not always alone. No further updates. 3rd story. Original post. My new apartment came with a set of rules. I broke one on the first night. I finally moved out on my own. Tiny studio, 7th floor of an old brick building downtown. It rents cheap, utilities included. Too good to pass up. When I signed the lease, the landlord slid a folded sheet across the desk. "House guidelines," he said. I figured it was about trash day, parking, whatever. When I opened it later, it wasn't normal. 1. Do not open your door if you hear knocking after 3 a.m. We don't have night visitors. 2. If the hallway lights flicker, count to 13 before stepping out. 3. The elevator will sometimes stop on floor 612. Do not leave the car. Press 7 until it moves again. 4. If you hear crying through the walls, hum a song. Do not try to listen. 5. Always cover the bathroom mirror before sleeping. I laughed, thought it was some weird urban legend thing. But on my very first night, at 3:12 a.m., someone knocked on my door. 3 times, slow, heavy. I peeked through the peephole. The hallway was empty, but the peephole glass showed a reflection, someone standing right behind me. Update 1. The crying. Second night I heard it, soft at first, like a woman sobbing through the wall. I pressed my ear close. The crying stopped. Then, clear as day, right against the drywall. Why did you listen? I scrambled back, humming the first thing that came to mind. Some stupid jingle from a cereal commercial. The crying didn't come back. But in the morning, my bathroom mirror had words scrawled in condensation. Don't listen. Update 2. Floor 612. The elevator rules sounded ridiculous until last night. I got in around 11, pressed 7. The car jolted, stopped between floors. The panel didn't show a number, just 6.5. The doors opened anyway. The hallway outside looked wrong. Low ceiling, doors too narrow, like it was built for someone shorter. Carpets black with damp stains. And the air, God, the air smelled like wet dirt and rust. Something shuffled down the hall. Too many legs, too fast. I hammered the button for 7 until the doors shut. When they did, the panel blinked a message I've never seen before. Welcome back, resident. Update 3. The mirror. I forgot to cover the bathroom mirror before bed. Around 4 a.m., I woke to the sound of humming, my own voice. I staggered in, flipped the light. My reflection was already waiting, smiling. But it wasn't in sync. It blinked late, moved its lips after mine. Then it whispered, "You shouldn't live here." I grabbed a blanket and taped it over the glass. Haven't looked since. Update 4. My neighbor. I finally met someone on my floor, an older woman named Ruth in 7C. She saw the circles under my eyes and just nodded. You read the rules? She asked. Yeah, I said. Do they really matter? She just lifted her sleeve, showed me a scar across her arm, 4 deep gouges like claw marks. Broke the mirror rule once, she said. Update 5. The knocking. Last night, right on schedule, 3 a.m. Knock, knock, knock. This time, I didn't check the peephole. Just pulled the blanket over my head and hummed. But then my phone buzzed. A text. Unknown number. It said, "Let me in. I'm you." Update 6. The landlord. I confronted the landlord this morning, demanded to know what the hell is happening. He didn't deny it, just said, "The building is old. It eats numbers. Tenants too sometimes. The rules keep it calm." Calm? I snapped. He shrugged. Cheaper than exorcisms. When I pressed him about the knocking, he just shook his head. Don't answer it, he said. It's not asking permission. It's checking if you're still here. Update 7. The wrong apartment. Tonight, coming home, I noticed something wrong. My door, 7B, was slightly open. Inside, everything looked the same. My couch, my dishes, even my blanket over the mirror. But when I turned, someone was already sitting at my desk. Me. Only, smiling wider, sharper. About time, it said. You took long enough to come home. I ran. Update 8. Final. The eviction. I packed, tried to leave. But when I got to the lobby, every door led back inside. Elevator, stairwell, even the emergency exit. Always back to 7B. On the floor in front of my apartment was a new piece of paper. Typed. Official. Notice of lease amendment. Effective immediately. Resident agrees to permanent occupancy of Unit 612. Attached was a key. When I touched it, the walls groaned. The carpet rippled. The door to my unit opened on its own. Inside, my reflection was waiting, holding out its hand. Behind it, in the mirror, the other tenants stood, smiling. Too polite, too still. I dropped the paper and ran. I'm writing this from the stairwell, but every door I try just leads back here. I don't think I'm leaving. If you ever move into an old building and get a list of rules, follow them. Because once it learns your name, you don't get to move out. No further updates. 4th story. Original post. I got hired to watch a radio tower at night. The rules don't make sense. A month ago, I answered a Craigslist ad. Night watch needed. Rural radio tower. Betweitzichar. No experience necessary. Too good to be true, right? But I needed the money. First night, the supervisor drove me 2 miles down a dirt road to this massive red and white tower in the middle of nowhere. The whole thing hummed with static. There was a tiny office shack at the base with a cot, radio, and a binder. The binder had procedures written across the front. Inside was a list of rules. 1. At 11:59 p.m., switch on the floodlights. Do not let the tower stand dark. 2. If the radio picks up voices asking for help, do not respond. 3. Every hour, walk the perimeter clockwise, never counterclockwise. 4. If you see your own silhouette at the top of the tower, cut the power immediately. 5. At 3:33 a.m., you must whistle while walking. Don't stop until 3:34. I laughed. Asked the supervisor if this was some hazing thing. He just looked at me and said, "They built it wrong. Just follow the rules." That night, around 1 a.m., the radio crackled. Through the static came a voice. It was mine, begging me to let it in. Update 1. The first patrol. I thought the hourly perimeter walks were pointless. Just gravel, barbed wire, and pine trees. But on my second night, at 2 a.m., I rounded the far corner and froze. Someone was standing inside the fence. At least, I thought it was someone. Their arms were too long, their head tilted wrong, like it was straining to hear something. I yelled. They didn't move. Then I realized its feet weren't touching the ground. I ran the rest of the patrol, never looked back. When I got to the shack, the logbook already had an entry written for me. 2:03 a.m., encounter noted, did not approach. Correct response. I hadn't written it. Update 2, the whistling. Third night, I thought I'd test the 3:33 rule. I didn't whistle. At exactly 3:33, the humming from the tower grew louder. Painful. The metal vibrated so hard I thought it would collapse. Then I heard footsteps all around me, dozens of them circling the shack. Fingers tapped against the windows, slow, patient. I panicked and started whistling the first tune I could think of. Happy Birthday. The humming died down instantly. The footsteps stopped. The logbook glowed faintly in the dark. When I opened it, a new line had appeared. Failure corrected. Do not test again. Update 3. The lights. At 11:59, the floodlights always buzz on, but last night one flickered and died. I grabbed a spare bulb and went out. When I reached the base of the tower, I looked up. At the very top, lit by the remaining floodlights, I saw a figure. It was me. Same jacket, same boots, standing perfectly still, looking down. I remembered Rule 4. If you see your own silhouette at the top of the tower, cut the power immediately. I sprinted back to the shack and threw the switch. The lights went out. The tower went dark. In the black, I heard my own voice whisper, "Good choice." Update 4. The supervisor. I confronted the supervisor the next morning, demanded answers. He rubbed his temples, said, "The tower doesn't just broadcast, it listens. Picks up things it shouldn't. They get curious. The rules keep them from climbing down." "What happens if we break them?" I asked. He stared at me a long time. Finally said, "You ever hear about that college kid who vanished here in 2015? They didn't follow Rule 5. We found their shoes. Nothing else." Update 5. The wrong broadcast. Last night around 2:40, the radio hissed, then cleared. A voice came through, calm and official. "This is the emergency broadcast system. Please evacuate immediately." I grabbed my coat, bolted for the truck. But when I reached the road, the supervisor was already there. "Don't listen," he barked. "It's not for us." I looked back at the shack. Through the window, I could see myself, sitting at the desk, smiling. Update 6. The logbook. I flipped ahead again in the logbook. Couldn't help myself. A page 3 nights from now already had my name. 3:33 a.m. Employee stopped whistling. Assimilation successful. I slammed it shut. That night, I whistled so hard my lips bled. But in the reflection of the shack window, I saw myself still, silent, watching. Update 7. The expansion. Supervisor told me today the company is building 2 more towers nearby. "Stronger signal," he said. I asked what that meant. He just muttered, "More mouths to feed." That night, during patrol, I saw floodlights in the distance. 2 more towers, half finished. And in the dark between them, silhouettes gathering. Not walking, just standing. Waiting. Update 8. Final. The broadcast. Last night, at exactly 3:33, the radio clicked on. Static cleared. A familiar voice spoke. Mine. "Good evening, listeners. This is the attendant, broadcasting live from Tower 7. Stay tuned for expansion." The logbook filled itself in front of me, every page covered in neat black ink. "Welcome to the signal." When I looked up, every mirror in the shack showed me sitting at the radio, headphones on, smiling. I don't remember putting them on. No further updates. 5th story. Original post. I work the night shift at the library. The rules are getting harder to follow. I got a new job 2 weeks ago, overnight security at our town library. It sounded perfect. Quiet, decent pay, free coffee. When the head librarian handed me the keys, she also gave me a sheet of rules, typed, yellowed at the edges. I laughed at first, then I read them. 1. Always lock the front doors at 11:59 p.m. sharp. If anyone knocks after midnight, ignore them, even if they show a library card. 2. Do not enter the children's section between 1 a.m. and 1:15 a.m. The puppets move during that time. 3. If you hear pages turning upstairs, do not investigate. We don't shelve books at night. 4. The microfilm machine sometimes clicks on by itself. If you see your own obituary, unplug it immediately. 5. At 3:03 a.m., someone will ask you for help finding a book. Do not follow them into the stacks. I asked if she was serious. She just said, "The library keeps more than books." That first night, at 12:10 a.m., someone knocked on the glass. A woman, pale, smiling, holding up a library card against the window. I stayed put, didn't move. She knocked again, louder. When I looked down at the rule sheet again, the paper had changed. A new line, handwritten in shaky ink. "Good job, don't let her in. Update 1. The puppets." Second night I forgot rule 2. At 1:05 a.m., I wandered into the children's section to refill the printer paper. The puppets, those silly hand puppets in the bin, were standing upright on the table, lined up, facing me. One by one, their cloth mouths opened. In unison, they whispered, "Why are you here?" I bolted. The next morning, the puppets were back in the bin. But my hands smelled like felt and dust, as if I'd been holding them all night. Update 2. The pages. At 2:06 a.m., I heard it. Pages turning, slow, upstairs in the reference section. I tried to ignore it, but curiosity ate at me. I climbed the steps. At the far table, an open dictionary lay on its side. The pages were turning themselves, though there was no breeze. They stopped at the word replacement. My phone buzzed. A new email. No sender. Subject: "We found your replacement." Update 3. The obituary. The microfilm machine clicked on by itself last night. When I leaned close, the screen showed a newspaper clipping. Date: 3 days from now. Headline: Local security guard found dead in library basement. The photo was me. My throat went dry. I yanked the plug from the wall. The screen went dark. But the sound of turning pages didn't stop. Update 4. The patron. At 3:03, like clockwork, a man appeared in the lobby. Tall, grey suit, no name tag. "I need help finding a book," he said. I stayed behind the desk, shook my head. He smiled, teeth too long, and stepped into the stacks anyway. A moment later, I heard 2 sets of footsteps walking away. I was the only one in the building. Update 5. The librarian. I asked the head librarian about all this. She sighed. "The library isn't just for us," she said. "It's older. It keeps things that don't belong anywhere else. The rules keep them calm." "What happens if I break them?" I asked. She didn't answer, just showed me a scar running down her arm. "Rule 2, she said. Update 6, the missing section. Tonight, I went to check the stacks. An entire aisle was gone, just a blank wall where it used to be. But when I pressed my ear against it, I heard voices whispering titles. One of them was my name. Update 7, the expansion. Construction crews came by today. The library's getting a new wing, supposedly. But at 1 a.m., the wall where the workers had been hammering was already different. A doorway stood there. Beyond it, endless shelves stretching into the dark. Books without titles. Covers blank. The man in the grey suit stood at the threshold, smiling. "Plenty of room now," he said. Update 8, final. The checkout. I tried to quit, but when I left, I found a slip of paper in my pocket. A library checkout slip. It listed my name, date due, never. Back at the desk, the logbook had a fresh note. Checked out, 1 resident. When I looked up, every puppet in the children's section had turned to face me, and somewhere in the stacks, pages turned, not waiting to be read, but waiting to be written, with my name. No further updates. 6th story. Original post. I took a job as a night janitor at an abandoned hospital. They didn't tell me about the rules. I needed work. The only place hiring overnight was St. Augustine's Memorial Hospital, shut down since the late 90s but supposedly being prepped for redevelopment. The job was janitorial. Sweep the halls, keep the generators fueled, report trespassers. 32 HHR, cash. When I showed up, the supervisor handed me a flashlight, a ring of keys, and a single sheet of rules. 1. Always keep the basement locked. If you hear knocking from inside, ignore it. 2. Do not use the East Wing elevators. They've been decommissioned since '98, but sometimes they still arrive. 3. If you pass a room with lights on, count the beds. If there are more than 6, do not enter. 4. The intercom may click on. Do not respond to your name. 5. At 3:33 a.m., you must walk past the surgical theatre. Don't look at the glass. 6. If you see someone in a nurse's uniform, check their shoes. If they aren't wearing any, leave the floor immediately. 7. Do not attempt to leave before sunrise. The parking lot is not always outside. I laughed, thought it was some creepy prank. But on my very first night, at 1:15 a.m., the East Wing elevator dinged. The doors slid open. Inside was a gurney, straps undone, and someone lying on it, covered with a sheet. When I blinked, the sheet rose, like someone had just sat up. I killed my flashlight, backed away, and sprinted to the stairwell. The doors closed, the elevator went down. But the basement has been sealed for 20 years. Update 1, the beds. Second night, I tried to do the job by the book. At 2:10 a.m., I passed room 214, light on. I peeked inside, beds lined up. I counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then another 7. The 7th bed was in the far corner, occupied. I couldn't see the face, but I swear the shape under the sheet was breathing. I backed out slowly, heart hammering. In the hallway, I looked again. The door plate didn't say 214 anymore. It said my name. Update to the intercom. At 2:47 a.m., the intercom crackled. My name. Please report to surgery 2. We need you in surgery 2. I froze. The voice was mine, whispering, but still mine. I checked the rule sheet again. Do not respond. So I stayed silent. The intercom clicked off. 5 minutes later, a crash echoed through the East Wing. When I investigated, every operating table was overturned, instruments scattered, but scrawled on the wall, in what looked like rust, were 3 words. Why not answer? Update 3, the nurse. At 3:05, I heard footsteps behind me. Turned, a nurse stood there, pale, smiling. Lost? She asked. I remembered the rule. Looked down. Bare feet, skin grey, toes dragging like they didn't know how to walk. I bolted, didn't stop until I hit the stairwell. From behind me came the sound of dozens of bare feet slapping tile. But when I looked back, the hall was empty. Update 4, the basement. The basement door rattled last night. Steady, rhythmic. Bang, bang, bang. Something whispered through the crack. Help us, we're cold, please. The smell hit me. Rot, wet stone, something metallic. When I leaned close, I swore I saw fingers, too many, pressing under the frame. I jammed the padlock shut. But in the morning, taped to the door was an old patient wristband. The name printed on it was mine. Update 5, the supervisor. I demanded answers. The supervisor sighed. You ever wonder why this place really closed? Budget cuts, I said. He shook his head. We didn't run out of money. We ran out of beds. What does that mean? I asked. They kept making more. Rooms filled themselves. Numbers don't add up. The rules keep it stable. If we don't watch at night, it spreads. Spreads? He looked me dead in the eye. You think this is the only St. Augustine's? Update 6, the glass. At 3:33, like the rules said, I walked past the surgical theatre. I kept my eyes forward, didn't look at the glass. But in the reflection on the floor, I saw shapes moving behind it. Surgeons in masks, scalpel glints, and something strapped to the table. Me, screaming soundlessly as they leaned close. When I blinked, the reflection was gone. But a note was taped to the inside of the glass, backwards. Next time, look. Update 7, the police. Last night I broke. I called the cops. When they arrived, I explained everything. They didn't believe me until the East Wing elevator dinged. The officers froze, guns out. The doors opened. Inside were 3 gurneys. Each one held a body bag. The top bags unzipped themselves, and the faces inside were the officers' own. The cops bolted, never came back. Update 8, the expansion. Construction crews showed up yesterday, said they were prepping for redevelopment. But I know better. At 2 a.m., I heard hammering from the East Wing. New doors appeared overnight. Numbered wrong, floor 4102, room 00. When I peeked in, endless halls stretched into the dark. Beds lined both sides, occupied. Every single patient was me. Update 9, the mirror room. I followed the sound of dripping. Found a door half hidden in the basement wall. Inside was a room of mirrors, but the reflections weren't me. Each one showed different versions, older, younger, sick, bandaged, bleeding. One of them looked up and whispered, "Trade places?" The others began to pound on the glass. Cracks spider-webbed outward. I ran. Update 10, final. Permanent resident. I tried to quit, packed my stuff, walked out at dawn. But when I reached the parking lot, it wasn't outside. It was another ward. Beds, hallways, monitors beeping, and every bed held someone wearing my face. I sprinted back inside. On the front desk was new paperwork. Admission form, patient, my name, status, permanent resident. I looked down. A hospital bracelet was already clasped on my wrist. It wasn't mine. The name printed on it was shaky, blurred, but I could still read it. Attendant. The lights flickered. Over the intercom, my own voice whispered, "Welcome back to St. Augustine's. Visiting hours never end. No further updates.